You may have seen this moment before. Your dog is lying beside you. You reach down to pet him. Everything seems completely normal. And then, a minute later, he gets up and walks away. Not dramatically, not angrily, just quietly. And yet, for many owners, that small moment can feel surprisingly personal. Almost immediately, questions start to appear. Did I do something wrong? Was he uncomfortable? Did he not want to be with me? Because when a dog leaves during an interaction, it is easy to assume the behavior is somehow about us, as if the dog is making a statement or sending a message about the relationship. But dogs do not always experience these moments the way people do. A dog may move simply because he wants a different place to rest, because the interaction has run its course, or because something in the environment has caught his attention. The important thing is that the behavior itself does not automatically tell us what the dog is feeling. And that may be why this moment is so often misunderstood, because what looks like rejection from a human perspective may sometimes mean something entirely different from the dog's. One of the reasons this behavior can be so confusing is that the same action may happen for many different reasons. A dog gets up, walks away, moves to another spot, and from the outside, the behavior always looks the same. But what is happening behind it may be completely different. Sometimes a dog simply wants a more comfortable place to lie down, a cooler part of the floor, a quieter corner of the room, a position that allows him to rest more easily. At other times, he may hear a sound that people barely notice, a car door outside, a movement in another room, a familiar noise somewhere in the house. And sometimes the interaction itself has simply reached a natural stopping point, not because the dog disliked it, not because anything went wrong, but because he feels finished with that moment and chooses to do something else. That is why the behavior can be difficult to interpret on its own. The act of walking away tells us what the dog did. It does not automatically tell us why he did it. And the difference between those two things is often where understanding begins. Uh, there is another possibility that many owners rarely consider. Sometimes the interaction was successful. The dog enjoyed it, and then it simply ended. Many dogs genuinely enjoy affection. They enjoy being close to the people they trust. They relax beside them, seek contact, and choose to spend time near them. But enjoying something is not always the same as wanting it to continue indefinitely. A dog may lie beside you for several minutes, enjoy the attention, feel comfortable, and then decide to stand up and move somewhere else. Not because the experience became negative, but because, from the dog's perspective, the moment may simply be complete. People often see the ending of an interaction as evidence that something went wrong. Yet, in many cases, nothing went wrong at all. The dog may have enjoyed every second of the interaction and still chosen to leave when he was ready to do something else. That is an important difference. Because ending interaction is not always the same as rejecting interaction. And when we begin to see that distinction, many of these small moments start to look very different. Part of the confusion comes from the way people naturally interpret behavior. When another person walks away during a conversation, we often assume it means something. Maybe they are annoyed, maybe they are offended, maybe they no longer want to be there. So when a dog gets up and leaves, it can be tempting to reach for the same explanations. He's upset with me. She's ignoring me. He's mad at me. The reaction feels understandable because people are used to viewing behavior through a human lens. We look for motives that make sense in human relationships. We imagine intentions, judgments, and emotions that we recognize from our own experience. But dogs do not necessarily organize their behavior around those same ideas. A dog may leave because he wants a quieter place, because he is ready to rest, because something else has captured his attention, or simply because he feels like moving. None of those explanations carry the same emotional meaning that people often attach to the behavior. And that is why a single moment can be so easy to misread. Sometimes the story we tell ourselves about the behavior says more about our own assumptions than it does about what the dog was actually trying to communicate. This is where looking at a single moment becomes less useful than looking at a pattern. A dog gets up and walks away once. By itself, that may tell us very little. But when the same behavior starts appearing in similar situations again and again, the picture often becomes clearer. The question is not simply whether the dog walked away. The question is when it happens. Does it happen after long petting sessions, after certain types of interaction, after visitors arrive, or does it happen no matter who is in the room? It can also be helpful to notice whether the behavior appears with one person or with everyone, whether it happens occasionally or several times every day, and whether the dog returns a few minutes later as if nothing happened. These small details often reveal far more than the act of walking away itself, because behavior rarely exists in isolation. What matters most is usually the pattern surrounding it. And the more attention we pay to that pattern, the easier it becomes to understand what the behavior may actually mean. There's one more detail that can change the way this behavior looks. A dog walks away, and many people stop the story there. But what happens next may be just as important as the moment itself. A few minutes later, where is the dog? Does he come back? Does he choose a spot nearby? Does he lie down in the same room? Does he seek contact again later in the evening? Sometimes the answer is yes. And when that happens, the picture can look very different. Because leaving a moment is not always the same as avoiding a person. A dog may decide he wants a break from one interaction and still want to be close to the people around him. He may move away for a while and then quietly return when he feels ready. That is why it can be helpful to look beyond the single behavior itself, not just whether the dog left, but whether he continued creating distance afterward, or whether he naturally reconnected on his own. Those two situations may look similar at first glance, yet they can tell very different stories about what the dog may actually be feeling. The next time your dog gets up and walks away, try not to focus only on the moment he leaves. Instead, become curious about everything around it. What was happening just before he got up? Had the interaction been going on for a few seconds or for several minutes? Was he being petted, resting beside you, sharing the couch? It can also be helpful to notice where he went next. Did he move to another room, choose a different spot nearby, lie down somewhere quieter? And perhaps most importantly, did he return later on his own? Many owners focus on the moment the dog leaves, but the moments before and after often provide far more information because behavior is usually part of a larger pattern. And when we start paying attention to that pattern, small actions that once seemed confusing often become much easier to understand. Sometimes the answer is not hidden in the fact that the dog walked away. Sometimes it is hidden in everything that happened around that moment. Sometimes a dog who walks away is not making a statement about love or trust or the bond you share. Sometimes he may simply be responding to what he needs in that particular moment: a different place to rest, a little more space, a change of activity, or the natural end of an interaction that he genuinely enjoyed. That is why a single behavior rarely tells the whole story. The meaning is often found in the pattern that surrounds it, in what happened before, what happened after, and how the behavior fits into everything else your dog does throughout the day. The more we focus on those patterns, the less we have to rely on assumptions, and the easier it becomes to see our dogs as they are, rather than through the lens of what we fear a behavior might mean. Because understanding often begins when we stop asking, "Why did my dog walk away?" and start asking, "What was my dog experiencing in that moment?" And sometimes that small shift can change the way we see our dogs entirely.